let's get back to the other fun stuff. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who famously is an absolute demon, was too much of a demon for the other demons in his own office. That's right. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is facing charges of bribery and abuse of the office. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Hasan, isn't this yet another case of woke DAs, woke George Soros-backed prosecutors attacking our boy who is bold, brave, and beautiful and a Trump supporter? No, as a matter of fact, the DAs in his office are also 1,000,000% Trump-supporting right-wingers. It's just that he is the most corrupt motherfucker out there that even all the other Republicans are like, dude, what are you doing? Now, there's some really funny aspects of this defense. Someone in the chat said, I work for the law firm representing him. I love that. But one of my favorite defenses on the Ken Paxton situation is that there is like a very weird Texas law, okay, that stipulates that you cannot be impeached for crimes or improper behavior that you engaged in before you got this position. Now, there's 20 charges, corruption. The main one basically is that he tried to stop a federal investigation being conducted into one of his homies. Okay. But my favorite counter to this is, and this is like very much lawyer speak, oh, in the state of Texas, you actually technically can't impeach someone over former, crimes that they may or may not have committed. And the law firm that's representing Paxton is claiming that the 2019-2020 Attorney General period is technically the former Attorney General period. So all of the transgressions or all of the laws that he may have violated doesn't count for this specific Attorney General run. So it's awesome. It's a really sick, and even then there's like 20 charges and one of them still will stick for technically this Attorney General run as well. But I love lawyers lawyering. This is such a sick-ass loophole. Let's take a look.
The impeachment trial is due to begin this morning in Austin, Texas, where the state's longtime Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is accused by his fellow Republicans of taking bribes and doing a long list of favors for a wealthy supporter. Paxton is an influential figure in the Texas GOP and a key ally of former President Donald Trump. As Janet Chamberlain reports, the trial is seen as a big test for Republicans. Will they remove an indicted Trump supporter who's still popular?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's like so evil that like you can see it on his face. You know what I mean? He's like one of those dudes who just like looks gross on top of just being a gross person. Again, one of my favorite type of characters out there.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton appeared to be in good spirits at a Labor Day picnic.
Wait, is that his mistress that he's kissing in the mouth? Or is that his wife that he cheated on? Because he did that as well. So there's that. Dude, that's the wildest part about this, by the way. That's the wildest part about this situation is that ugly motherfucker was getting pussy on the side, dude. Like, that ugly motherfucker had a wife and he was getting pussy on the side. It's crazy, dude.
Over the weekend, despite a fight for his political survival just hours away.
Pray for us as we go forward.
The rare public appearance comes after state House members, many fellow Republicans.
Ladies love that fucking one eye is lazy look, dude. They nut. He's got the permanent when you nut and she keeps sucking face. You know what I mean?
Voted in May to impeach him on charges that include bribery, obstruction of justice, and abuse of power.
He broke the law.
What is this audio? God, I love this, dude. It's just bass boosted, dude. They wanted the Zoomers to participate in the process. You can't make fun of him for cheating. He's always seeing two women. Oh, come on. Come on now.
Based on almost 4,000 pages of documents, Paxton is accused of repeatedly abusing his office to help real estate investor Nate Paul evade legal trouble in exchange for providing favors to Paxton that allegedly included renovations to his home, employing the woman Paxton was allegedly having an extramarital affair with, and enlisting Paul's help to set up an Uber account so Paxton could meet up with his alleged mistress. Paxton has denied any wrongdoing. In court filings, his attorney arguing they have no evidence to support any articles of impeachment.
Just so we're clear, the allegations are untrue. They are false.
I just want to make sure that the right person gets elected based on what the voters did in this country.
A vocal supporter of President Trump who contested the 2020 election, Paxton appeals to his conservative.
Nate Paul might be the least trustworthy dude I've ever seen. Dude looks like a straight criminal. Yeah, because he's a real estate developer in Texas. Of course he looks like a straight criminal. Like, what do you think? Dude, he's awesome. This entire situation is awesome because Operation Deep Sea, how Nate Paul pulled the strings on the Attorney General's office to investigate his enemies. Like, the Texas journalists are making absolute mincemeat out of Ken Paxton's asshole right now. Okay? Like, because this is not only a bunch of a beautiful consortium of villains, they're very telegenic villains, but they're also like hilariously, they're comically corrupt. Paxton's wife is also a state senator who's been recused from the impeachment trial. Yes, that was another very funny moment there as well, because although he cheated on her, it still doesn't matter. She's like standing by his side, it seems. I talked about that briefly as well. Italian Jenk on the right, yeah, he does look like Jenk a little bit. Paxton Moke Shouty, 100 P, dude. I love to see it, folks. Love to see it. Oh, also the vote to dismiss is failed. What was it? What were the numbers? It was like 6 nays, I think. Or 6 dismissals and then 24 yays. So that got clapped. It was a 24-6. How are you 6 people? How do you live with yourselves, dude? At that point, I guess it's like Texas, so it doesn't really matter how corrupt you are. You know what I mean? They're like, what do you mean? I'm a big city lawyer, brother. That's how it works. Anyway, 6 Republicans. It don't matter. It's Texas. The people that are bringing these charges to him are Republicans. The people that blew the whistle are Republicans. The judge, jury, and executioner will be a Republican. We are talking about Texas, okay? You think it's like woke libtards doing the bidding? Like, no, fuck no. That's why I joked about how these are like George Soros backed DAs or whatever that brought these charges. Nope. Okay, nope, not at all. These are fucking Republicans. These are like real Republicans who are like, dude, like a level of corruption that is permissible is fine and dandy. Everybody does it. You went above and fucking beyond. What are you doing? A pro-Paxton super PAC donated a fuck ton of money to state senators and the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is presiding over the trial. They'll still try and save his ass, but I do feel like he's super cooked, and it might hurt the party down the line. Like keeping him in that position and like showing to Texans that he is like absolutely a guy who is definitely guilty of like a whole bunch of bullshit, who abused the powers that he had in that office, and then like protecting him after all of that would only show the Texas voters that the Texas GOP is like super corrupt. I don't think Texans care. No, they do. I think they do, because this is like an open and shut corruption situation. No, because guys, 1, this is an open shut corruption case. 2, you're talking about other Republicans who are also Trump supporters, who are also like hardcore Republicans who have been voted on for those positions of power, that are saying like, no, fuck this guy. Like, this guy's fucked up. It's definitely different. Texan here don't care. Okay, well, you're in here. It doesn't matter that you don't care, because they're all fucking horrible people regardless. because you are in here. You're a Texan who is a 42-month subscriber. Of course, you don't give a shit because his replacement is going to be a demon anyway. I get where you're coming from. We're covering it from the perspective of like having fun with the issue itself. I'm not saying that this is like going to genuinely change the outcome of politics or anything like that. A lot of those Republicans are trying to keep their seats as they trend D, so this is an easy way to show you are not just a right-wing loon to the suburbs. There's that element of it as well. But I think that, here's the thing. I think that as Texas keeps developing and urbanizing, whether you look at Dallas, Houston, Austin, right, becoming like major cities, and they have been for a very long time, as a matter of fact, you realize that like there is a sea change, there's an attitude change that inevitably happens. Okay, there's an attitude change that inevitably happens, even though Texas has had the white Latino population on lockdown. The Texas GOP has had the white Latino population on lockdown for some time now. I'm not one of those like Texas is becoming blue Andes, but I do believe that even in these districts, the more urbanization happens in Texas, the more you're going to inevitably have suburbs that are a little bit more moderate. This doesn't change the outcome for the entire state, but year over year, these demographic shifts, and also, more importantly than demographic shifts, the accompanying urbanization creates an environment that like Texas will turn blue again. And I don't mean in like a Dixie crack kind of way. Okay? What is this? Lots of people are watching this in Texas, mostly because you can't go outside. Yeah. Like, I'm not one of those like Beto O'Rourke truthers or some shit. I'm saying that like, I'm simply stating that the attitude change you see or the internal conflict that you experience in the Republican Party is obviously going to bear itself out in elections across the board, all around the country, and Texas is not spared from this. Dallas, El Paso, San Antonio, Houston, Austin are all blue, but it's about turning the suburbs blue now. Yeah. So, ultimately, this does show like pure corruption, like in a really fucked up way, in a really obvious way, in a way that even like Republicans will look at and go, that's kind of fucked up.
The base, and last year, secured his third term as Attorney General. He has been a constant thorn in the side of the Biden administration, filing more than 20 lawsuits on issues ranging from COVID restrictions to abortion guidelines and immigration, winning most of those cases in front of Trump-appointed judges.
There is no other state in this country with so much influence over the fate of our nation. And this is solely because...
Oh, by the way, the irony is that a lot of people think like the true Texans actually vote deep red. It's like, no, I don't want to fuck this number up, but I remember looking at something a while ago that showed that it wasn't necessarily the native Texans that have been there for multiple generations that were deeply voting red, especially ones that live in those big cities that I just mentioned. They vote blue, as a matter of fact. It's usually the dumbasses that come from all these other fucking states to be like, Texas is this like libertarian safe haven that fucking goes and votes red. It's always the fucking transplants that literally vote red rather than the native Texans, which is pretty funny. But you know that's another issue. Oh yeah, it was this one. Yeah, NATO. Beto won with native-born Texans. Cruz won all the born-again Texans. Yep.
of the relentless challenges I bring against Biden's unconstitutional policy agenda.
Now Paxton's fate is in the hands of the Texas Senate. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick will serve as the judge, and 31 state senators will preside over the trial as jury, including Paxton's wife, Angela, a state senator, though she's barred from voting.
I think for Republicans, this is a litmus test of, is there a line at which you're going to say, I don't care how popular the person is with the base, we're still going to remove them because the actions that they've committed are sufficiently troubling that they can no longer remain in office?
If all 12 Democrats vote to convict Paxton, 9 Republican votes would still be needed. Acquitted or convicted, Republicans nationwide will be watching. For CBS Mornings, I'm Janet Shamlian in Houston.
Yep. I love that. Do we have more? I want to know more. You're a meme man, Mr. Hassan. Thank you. I love being a meme man. I'm applying for a job. Will you be my reference and help me lie to future employers? Yes, always. Yes, I did see the XUC Meat Canyon. That pic embodies the 3 archetypes of conservative men. Yeah. Okay. I want to dive a little bit more into this though, because I feel like there's more to it than just this. Here it is. Specifically, Paxton benefited from Nate Paul's employment of a woman with whom Paxton was having an extramarital affair.
The clerk will read the next article.
Article 9, Constitutional Bribery, Paul's employment of mistress. While holding office as Attorney General, Warren Kenneth Paxton engaged in bribery in violation of Section 41, Article 16, Texas Constitution. Specifically, Paxton benefited from Nate Paul's employment of a woman with whom Paxton was having an extramarital affair. Paul received favorable legal assistance from or specialized access to the office
Trial
of
is
the
live.
Attorney
We can
General.
go. We can dive into it.
Attorney General Paxton, how do you plead?
Those allegations are flat out
false. Here, let's take a look at the fucking impeachment trial.
By that committee, showing Paul is in a meeting with his attorney and one of Paxton's top officials.
Here,
at the
let's
time,
look at. Let's do a little bit of attorney watching. I gotta pee. I'll be back.
On that investigation.
It spliced all the Wi-Fi lines. They destroyed my camera system. So that happened at all 3 locations.
In it, you can hear David Maxwell, who was the director of criminal law enforcement for the AG's office, standing firm.
The most stuff you're complaining about is certainly within the law.
And then this exchange between Maxwell and Nate Paul's attorney.
I don't think that our raising these kinds of questions, talking to you, talking to Ken, whoever, is any way of obstruction. We're just trying to figure out what happened.
I understand, but they're going to think that that's what we're doing, trying to obstruct a federal investigation.
Now, when Paul was arrested, his attorney released this statement to WFAA, saying his charges have nothing to do with Ken Paxton, nothing whatsoever, and called the impeachment effort weak. But former prosecutor turned UNT Dallas law professor Angela Downs says the prosecutors in the impeachment trial will focus on shutting that down.
The prosecutors on this case will be able to make those connections.
Back in 2018, Paul contributed $25,000 to Paxton's campaign. They were connected, but that's not unusual. But Paxton is accused of misusing his position as Attorney General to do favors for Nate Paul and his business in exchange for favors of his own.
That's not unusual.
In addition to accusations that he used his office to help Paul get info on his own federal investigation, the articles also claim Paul hired a woman Ken Paxton was having an affair with, and in exchange for his legal help, Nate Paul hooked Paxton up with some home renovations.
Nate Paul admitted that she worked for one of his companies. However, he did not know how much she was paid and could not identify a single specific project that she worked on.
The evidence released by the impeachment committee actually includes this employment contract, showing that the woman worked for Paul. There are also records from Uber showing fake accounts allegedly created by Paxton using the service to visit Nate Paul and his alleged mistress.
This is almost uncharted territory. To have someone whose name, Mr. Paul's name, being part of the conversation, being connected to so many particulars of the case, really puts you on notice.
And many legal experts believe that Paul's current legal issues could prime him to switch his stance.
He's really in a position where he's got to start thinking about his defense and how he can protect himself.
He does look like Jank a little bit.
And so this might put him in a very vulnerable position where he might be willing to, to speak against the Attorney General.
And as for Nate Paul's own legal woes, trial is set for July of 2024, an undoubtedly much different story than the one told back in July of 2017. In North Texas, I'm Morgan Young.
With some history on Nate Paul.
Beautiful.
How surprising is it that you would have an attorney general that would be tied so tight with this guy who's now under federal indictment? I mean, he alleged of all kinds of financial crimes.
It's too many touch points. I mean, I think.
Okay, let's watch the opening statement from the prosecution.
Earlier this year, Mr. Paxton came to the legislature seeking $3.3 million in taxpayer money to settle a whistleblower lawsuit.
There is no fucking way my man has that mustache. I'm sorry. I cannot go on for any longer without addressing what this unfaithful Jebediah ass mustache is. What is going on? Oh my fucking God. There is no more a Texas mustache from a Texas prosecutor. God, I fucking love this country and I love this state. Oh my God. That is not allowed. That should not be allowed. How do you do that? How do you let that slide? I'm no big city lawyer now. Dare I say. This man here, Ken Paxton, abused his position as Attorney General to the highest crimes of infidelity. It sucks that so many people from fucking Austin don't actually have thick-ass accents like this. Because, like, he looks like he should have that. He looks like he should speak like, I'm no big city lawyer now. I do declare, sir. I do declare. I'm just a small-town country lawyer.
Lawsuit. Mr. Paxton would not answer any questions about the underlying claims. He had successfully blocked any discovery in the case for almost 2 years, and he refused to justify the settlement. The House investigated the serious allegations raised by the whistleblowers.
He looks like that guy from Naperville who acts like he's from Texas. No, man, this is incredibly Texas. No, it sucks when you go to Austin and you realize that, like, none of those motherfuckers have thick accents. Okay? When you visit Texas and it's just like, okay, things that I thought were going to exist in Texas, massive mega churches literally everywhere. Massive parking lots, massive mega churches, worst traffic you've ever seen, okay? But then you want a lot of like, oh, I do declare, sir. Like that kind of shit. And then it's just so like, they talk exactly like we do, okay? Like this man looks like he says Jebediah regularly, and when you hear him speak, it's like he's never said Jebediah. It sucks.
The House uncovered egregious misconduct and abuse of office by the Attorney General of the state of Texas and voted overwhelmingly to prefer articles of impeachment to the Senate. This is why we are here. The allegations in the articles reveal that the state's top lawyer engaged in conduct designed to advance the economic interests and legal positions of a friend and donor to the detriment of innocent Texans. Mr. Paxton turned the keys of the Office of Attorney General over to Nate Paul so that Mr. Paul could use the awesome power of the People's Law Firm to punish and harass perceived enemies. I was raised in rural Texas.
God damn it. God damn it, dog. You can't. No, see? It would hit so much harder if he's like, I was raised in rural Texas. God damn it. No, the fuck you weren't. No, he was. I'm telling you, man. This is literally what I'm talking about. It sucks. There's probably Texans in the chat that are making fun of us right now because it's not like, it's more of like a Louisiana drawl, you know what I mean? Or Mississippi or something like that. But like, You expect Texas to be like that, but it's not. It sucks. It sucks. Northern Texas has accents, not Central South Texas.
Honor is more important than money, where integrity matters. By a family deeply affected by political corruption. This is precisely the type of grave official wrong that our Texas Supreme Court has said warrants impeachment.
This is what conservatives mean when they say colleges ruined the youth. They took his voice. No, I feel like a lot of, no, it's just like, no, this is just Texas. I think, like, I don't think it's that, I think it's normal. I mean, there's different like regional dialects and whatnot, but for the most part, it is how it is. My parents used to have thick accents back in the 90s, but the rise of pop culture has taken that away. But also, remember, Californians used to have thick-ass accents, too. Californians, if you look at the video of, like, drunk driving laws being implemented in California in the 80s, you hear them literally talking like what you would expect someone to talk like a Texan does. Unless you go to bumfuck nowhere, you don't hear accents very much here in Texas. Yeah, Californians used to fucking sound like, in the 80s, Californians used to sound like way more like this, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? That type of shit. And then it turned into more like, you know, Los Angeles is different, obviously. I'm talking California. I mean, that was 3 Californians. I was in California in the 80s. Californians did not sound like that. I feel like Californians in rural-ass areas definitely did have more of a southern drawl. I'm not talking about San Francisco. I'm not talking about Los Angeles. I'm talking about, like, rural areas in California. California was also red. Like, it was a fucking red-ass state, you know? You got Richard Nixon. You got Ronald Reagan. People who don't have accents are fully assimilated into general culture. Neither of my parents had accents, but my stepdad's parents, who lived way out in East Texas for 50-plus years, couldn't and don't want to shake their accents. Anyway, this is more so a product of what we talk about all the time. The real divide in America oftentimes is not on a state-by-state basis, but instead like the rural area versus suburbs and cities. And suburbs are like the main one because suburbs, district by district, can go either way. And recently, in the past couple elections, they have moved, at least with Donald Trump, they've moved a little bit in the direction of libtard voting rather than I just want fucking deregulation and tax breaks, so I'm going to vote Republican voting. So that's what's going on right now. Rural, always voting reliably blue. Reliably red. Suburbs, urban areas, usually voting reliably blue. There's some differences, but, you know, big cities usually vote blue, and then the suburbs can go either way. Anyways.
All the articles, but if you were looking at the 2/3 vote and what's needed to remove General Paxton, then all those were close votes. A couple of them, you got 21 senators, but more of them you got more like 20, and there were. Can
you explain why libtard is okay but R word is not? Isn't it derived from the R word? Yeah, but it just means like stupid liberal. So it doesn't mean like someone with a mental disability or mental illness. Also, I mean, I think it's fine, but many others might not. You know what I mean? But I still use it because I think it's such a stupid thing that Republicans say all the time, and I think it's funny.
It's a close vote at this point. I said on Inside Texas Politics, I've said before that I thought they had the votes to remove him, but not the votes to ban him from seeking office again.
Do you still feel that way?
I think it's probably closer. I think there are a couple of swing votes and people I'm looking at for how they vote and where this goes. But I think that, and it's been interesting to watch and see what kind of attention people are paying, and to see in the crowd whose ears perk up and who seems to be zoned in and zoned out in the jury. But I think that it's very.
I use it, but I have to bite my tongue with my leftist friends and SJW circles because some will lose their minds. Yeah, they're behaving like liptards, brother. That's what it is. It's no fun Andes out there fucking YOLO. But yeah, it has nothing to do with. I don't think it has anything to do with mental illness, and more so about like making fun of Republicans who say being a liberal is mentally ill, like mental illness. That's why it's funny. This looks like those shitty church shows at 2 a.m. Yeah, I thought this was going to actually show the trial a little bit and it would be fun, but it's not. It's not hitting in the way that I wanted it to. And also, libtard is our word. You know what I mean? Like our word. We own it. So it's called reclaiming. Okay? And not our word as the letter R, our word. Okay? There's also a looming government shutdown, but let's move on from the Ken Paston story.